Hello, my friend. Welcome to How to Like Your Life, a brain training podcast for mindset transformation. I am so glad that you're here. I'm Emilie. I'm a brain training specialist and hypnosis practitioner here to teach you how to harness your own inner power using the magic and science of brain training and self-hypnosis to transform your life and actually like your life. Let's dive in. Before we delve into today's topic, I want to start with just a little experiment. So wherever you are, I'd like you to take a moment to look around the space that you're in and see if you can find at least 3 things that are made of metal. Take a moment to do that now. Great. Okay, so now that you've done that, look around again and see if you can find 3 things that have at least 3 colors on them. Good. Now, can you find 3 things with a smooth texture? Good. Now look around again and see if you can find 3 things that are cozy to you in some way. And now look around and see if you can identify 3 things that are beautiful to you. Good. Now turning your attention to your physical body, I'd like you to identify 3 sensations that you feel in the body that are neutral or positive. So, for example, I feel my glasses resting on my nose, I feel myself breathing, and I can feel the fabric of my shirt. 3 physical sensations that you can feel. Good. Now, together, let's take a long, deep breath in. And on your exhale, let that go as a big sigh out your mouth. Good. So, what you just did was practice mindfulness. You became mindful of things that were happening in the present moment. And that is the topic for our episode today. We are delving into how to become mindful and present and truly aware of what's happening in this moment. And it does not have to look like a formal meditation. It doesn't have to look like a meditation app or a corporate seminar. Mindfulness has become such a buzzy word that it's been conflated into a whole industry, which includes a lot of really useful tools. But in reality, mindfulness is just becoming a bit more present and aware in this moment. So when you did that little exercise, when you looked for those 3 things, you channeled your focused attention to find things that were true in this moment. And a lot of people, when they go through this kind of practice, they kind of let go of the past and the future a little bit. You might not have been thinking as much about your to-do list or the things that you're worried about. You might have felt more calm or relaxed. You might have felt a bit more playful. It kind of feels like an adult version of I Spy. And that is the essence of mindfulness. So, in today's episode, I want to break down really what it is, how you can engage with it, why it's useful to begin with, and how you can start to train the brain to be able to be more present naturally in a given moment. Again, we hear this word thrown around a lot. And a lot of people don't know the benefits of it. We all know that we should be more mindful, we should be more present, but why? Why is this even important? So, we're going to delve into all of this because being really present for what we're experiencing is the key to liking our lives. This podcast is called How to Like Your Life. And if we're not present for what's happening in our lives, if we are lost in the past or the future, then there's less opportunity and less mental real estate for us to really deeply enjoy and appreciate and engage with the life that we are currently living. Because the opposite of mindfulness is dissociation. A lot of people associate the word dissociation with trauma, but dissociation in a nutshell is just the lack of presence, the lack of mindfulness, the lack of really connecting to the experiences that we're having. It's not inherently a bad thing. And we experience dissociation in trauma and stress responses as a way for our bodies to protect us from feeling our pain fully and deeply. But with this overstimulating society in which we are all living, the majority of us have some kind of chronic underlying stress going on at all times, and that prevents us from being fully present, even for the good moments in our lives. So, mindfulness helps us to reconnect with our experiences in a way that feels safe. There are countless definitions of mindfulness out there. I personally love the definition by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is the creator of the mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And he defines mindfulness as paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So if we break that down, we pay attention. So we are putting our focused attention on our experiences on purpose, which means we are choosing to do so in the present moment. So these are experiences that are happening right now. It's not thinking about the past or the future, it's the present. And non-judgmentally, which means we are not deciding whether something is good or bad. We are looking at it as it is and releasing judgment from it. Paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. Jon Kabat-Zinn also sometimes adds that this is in the service of self-understanding and wisdom. So when we pay attention on purpose and we don't judge the present moment, it allows us to gain a deeper understanding of the experiences that we're having, of how we're feeling within them. And that really helps us access our deep sense of wisdom that every single human has. And practices like mindfulness can help us unlock our own inner wisdom and intuition and our ability to really be in touch with ourselves. The reason why mindfulness is important, the reason it's good for us, is because it really helps us see our lives as they are right now. So many of us spend hours and hours, the majority of our lives and our thoughts focusing on the past and the future. We're either thinking about things that happened, we're planning for the future, we're worrying about things, we're ruminating on all the stuff we have to do or all the things we have done. And in reality, life is made up of the present moment. All we ever have access to is right now. The past has already happened. We're not experiencing it anymore. The future has not happened yet, and the future will always be in the future. So when we engage in tools that help us increase our mindfulness, our ability to pay attention on purpose, that allows us to live our life, not just like our life, but live it and be here for it. And the more aware we are of not only the circumstances we're in, but the experiences that we're having within those circumstances, the emotions, the physiological responses, the instincts that we feel, the more self-awareness we'll build. We will become more aware of how to support ourselves, what's coming up for us. And that can also increase self-compassion. So there's endless research on mindfulness and meditation. And some of the big benefits of mindfulness include reduced stress. Now, the reason why mindfulness reduces our stress is because when we put our focused attention on things on purpose, that activates something called the prefrontal cortex, which is the rational thinking part of our brains. It strengthens that part of us and it reduces the activity in another part of the brain called the amygdala. The amygdala acts as the alarm bell. It's the part of us that senses danger, that sets off the stress response. And over time, mindfulness practices have actually been shown to shrink the size of the amygdala in the brain. It quite literally changes the size of our brain. And when the amygdala is smaller, when that alarm bell gets smaller, we're less likely to be set off into a stress response unnecessarily. We're more able to stay calm and rational, and we have more access to problem-solving abilities, so it makes it so much easier to handle challenges. Along those same lines, as our prefrontal cortexes become stronger, it increases our ability to choose how we want to respond to a difficult situation rather than just reacting and jumping into whatever instinct comes up for us. We have more choice. Mindfulness has also been shown to increase creativity, reduce rumination, and negative thought loops that keep us just stuck in that awful downward spiral. It helps us get out of that. It improves our memory. It trains our ability to focus on tasks. And it also improves our physical health. It's a treatment for heart disease. It lowers blood pressure. It improves our sleep. Mindfulness is a really common intervention for chronic pain because it changes the way that our brains perceive and respond to pain. It helps gastrointestinal and digestive issues, and so on and so forth. Mindfulness really is a powerful skill and ability that can help so many different areas of your life. I personally have found that whenever I'm actively engaging in mindfulness practices on a regular basis, I feel more okay. And I know that that's a really simple phrase, but I have a really buzzy, chaotic brain. I have ADHD, I'm autistic. Things are firing very quickly in my brain. And when I really engage in mindfulness often, it helps me feel okay. It helps to slow down the mobilization in my mind. I feel less urgency in all the things that I'm doing. It really just slows things down so that I'm able to feel okay regardless of what I'm experiencing. So, I want to share some tools that you can utilize to help you strengthen this skill of mindfulness so that you can be more here and now and have more capacity to like more of the here and now. There's, of course, so many different ways that you can do this, but I want to share 4 practices that have been really useful for my process of becoming more mindful. Number 1 is, of course, the obvious one, mindfulness meditation. And a lot of people have really complicated relationships with mindfulness in a meditation practice. I hear most often people saying, "Oh, I just can't do it. I can't get my mind to shut off. I can't sit there. I get really bored. I get antsy, whatever." People tend to really struggle with this expectation of sitting still and attending to your experience. And I'm here to ease some of those concerns because meditation is actually not about quieting your thoughts at all. A lot of us have this image in our mind of a monk on the top of a mountain, sitting cross-legged, totally at peace, assuming that they're not thinking anything. Their minds are totally blank, right? That's actually not correct. The goal of meditation is not to clear your thoughts. In fact, no matter how experienced you are as a meditator, you're going to think thoughts. That's because we are human and we have brains that are designed to think. So, meditation as a practice involves a couple of different elements. First and foremost, you have to have some kind of anchor. An anchor is something that you are focusing your attention on. So, that could be your breath. A lot of people like to just focus on the sensations of breathing. Some people like to use words or a mantra or an affirmation as an anchor. Some people prefer to put their focused attention on their physical sensations or a sound. In more active meditation practices, people like to put their focus on physical movements like yoga or even the act of coloring in an adult coloring book. So once you have an anchor chosen for your practice, meditating as a verb is the act of keeping your focused attention on that anchor. Thinking back to Jon Kabat-Zinn's definition, it's about paying attention on purpose. And as you are paying attention to that thing, as you're paying attention to your breath or your mantra, your brain will inevitably stray to thoughts. Your mind will take you to thoughts. You might notice distracting sounds or physical sensations. You might start thinking about your to-do lists or different experiences in your life. It's going to happen. So the practice of meditating is the act of noticing when a thought arises, noticing that you're having a thought, not judging it, and then bringing your attention back to that anchor as soon as you acknowledge the thought. So for example, in my meditation practices, it sounds like I'm breathing, I'm breathing, I'm breathing. Oh my gosh, what am I going to make for dinner? Should I make pizza? Should I make pasta? Oh, there's a thought. Okay, I'm breathing, I'm breathing, I'm breathing. Oh no, did I respond to that person's email? Do I need to go clean the house? I forgot that I need to vacuum the living room. Oh, okay, I'm thinking, I'm breathing, etc. It's this bouncing back and forth between holding your focused attention on that anchor, noticing when your thoughts stray, and coming back. And the coolest thing to me about meditation is that the act of coming back is what strengthens your brain. It's not whether or not you have thoughts. It's not how good you are at focusing for a long period of time. It's that act of choosing to come back to the breath, choosing to come back to your anchor every time that is strengthening your prefrontal cortex. So this means that if you have a ton of thoughts in meditation, you're going back and forth and back and forth. That just means you have more and more opportunity to train your brain. And the very real life benefit of this practice is that it's teaching your brain that no matter what happens as you move throughout the day, you have the ability to come back. You get stressed, you get overwhelmed, you come back. You know how to release that distraction and come back to your center. So if you are trying to meditate and your thoughts are very noisy, that's okay. That's a good thing. For me, whenever I notice a thought and then I feel guilty about thinking too much, I remind myself that when I make the choice to come back to my breath and redirect my focus again, I'm doing something good for myself. So I would like to challenge you to try a mindfulness meditation, an unguided little meditation exercise for 1 minute a day. Start really, really small and just see how it feels. Set a timer on your phone for 60 seconds. And for those 60 seconds, just decide that in that moment, you are going to focus on your breath. When you inevitably stray to thoughts, you'll come back to the breath and just start super small and see how it goes. It's okay to be messy. It's okay for your meditations to be loud and noisy and full of thoughts and full of chaos. And over time, as you continue with this practice each day, it'll become easier and easier to come back. It's not necessarily going to erase your thoughts because, again, our brains are designed to think, but it will be easier to recognize when you are straying and then redirect back. I'd like to quickly interrupt this episode to share a bit about how you can make it easier to like your life using my hypnosis app, Dawdle. What you might not know is that every single episode of this How to Like Your Life podcast is paired with a recommended guided hypnosis session on the Dawdle app to help you enhance the practices that we're talking about here so you don't have to figure it out all on your own. On the app, you'll also find tons and tons of full-length hypnosis sessions to help you in so many areas of your life, including relaxation, stress relief, focus, motivation, joy, confidence, health and healing, sleep, getting in touch with your goals, and so much more. There's also a whole library of eyes open hypnosis for you to listen to while you're doing things actively, while walking, while showering. There's also a library of mood shifters, which are practices that are under 5 minutes, designed to help you get out of a stress response fast and feel better quickly. So in this podcast, I'll teach you how to like your life, and on Dawdle, it'll become a very easy task. So make sure to try out Dawdle for free for 7 days, and you can find the download links in the show notes. Now let's get back to the episode. I think a lot of people have a misconception that you have to do meditation in order to become a mindful person, and that's just not true. Meditation is one tool. It's a very effective tool, but it's just one way of building that skill of becoming more present. But I want to share some alternatives because I know that meditation doesn't always resonate with people. And that does not mean that you are hopeless. That does not mean that it's not possible to become more mindful in other ways. So an alternative that is close to meditation is engaging in mindful breathing as you move throughout your days. So some people don't like the idea of sitting down and closing their eyes and doing a formal meditation practice. So you might instead become more mindful of the way that you're breathing as you move through your days. And that could just be that every hour or so, you decide that for the next 3 breaths in your day, you are going to pay attention to what it feels like to breathe. Really feel the air moving through your nose, filling your lungs, feeling your belly expanding, and then noticing the sensations of air moving out. That is mindfulness. That is paying attention on purpose to something that's happening in the present moment. And if you do that throughout your day, you are building that skill. Mindfulness practices also do not have to be about the breath at all. So I personally really love deep breathing exercises. It really helps to calm me down, but some people find that deep breathing and mindful breathing sometimes causes a bit of stress. It doesn't really resonate with them and it can become a little dysregulating, which is completely valid. So if you find that mindfully breathing deeply in moments of stress or as you're moving through your day isn't a vibe for you, that's all right. So I want to share a couple of other options that can help you become more present without feeling the pressure to take a deep breath on purpose. So, the third practice that you could engage with is something like that little mindfulness exercise that I had you do at the beginning of this episode, looking for three things that are a certain color or a certain shape or made of a certain material. It doesn't really matter what you're looking for or in what particular order. I just shared some random ideas. But the practice of looking on purpose for certain things in your environment can train your brain to become more mindful because you are paying attention to what is happening in front of you. So instead of doing a breath meditation practice, I might encourage you to take some time each day, even a couple of minutes, to just look around the space that you're in and notice what you see. If you want a particular framework for this, you might look for the colors of the rainbow. I really love to look for the colors of the rainbow in order because it's harder than it seems in some places. So I look for one thing that's red and I'm not able to move on to orange until I find one thing that's red. And then I look for things that are orange. And then I find something that's yellow, that's green, blue, purple, white, etc. And I move through the colors in order. And that just something about that practice really makes me feel so playful. It makes me feel like a little kid playing a game, and it totally engrosses me into what I'm doing. It totally takes all of my attention, and it is mindfulness. It's becoming mindful of what's happening in this moment. So you could totally make a game out of it if you wanted to. And if you want guided versions of that practice, on my Dottle Hypnosis app, there's a section in the Mood Shifters library called Find Three Things. They're only a couple minutes long, and I guide you through the process of looking for different things in your environment to mix it up a little bit. The fourth tool I want to share with you is a spin on mindfulness, but it strays a little bit. So, the formal definition of mindfulness is paying attention to the present moment without judging it. But in some cases, I find it useful to add judgment when that judgment is positive. Some mindfulness teachers might fight me on this one, but I really like the angle of positive mindfulness. And that's a lot of the work that I do and what we talk about on this podcast of really putting our focused attention on the parts of our experiences that are good for us, that are supportive for us. So if you wanted to use mindfulness to create a more positive mindset and help you appreciate more of the good things in your life, I love to create a practice around completing the phrase, "This is good because." And I complete the sentence over and over and over again, particularly in otherwise boring and neutral moments of my life. So the example that I share often is I use this practice when I wash my hands. And I'll just repeat, "This is good because," over and over and over again and complete the sentence. So for example, "This is good because the water is warm and it feels nice. This is good because I love the smell of the soap. This is good because the bath mat is really fluffy beneath my feet. This is good because I'm taking care of my health. This is good because the act of washing my hands gives me 20 to 30 seconds of stillness before I move on with the rest of my day." And this act of searching for why this moment is good is inherently a mindfulness practice because it's forcing us to pay attention to what's happening, what is true in this present moment. And then we put our attention on the true things that are good for us, that are supportive to us. And what I found is that over time, the more I started doing this practice in the mundane moments of my life, like brushing my teeth, like washing my hands, like going grocery shopping, things that are otherwise pretty neutral, it started to create a positive association with those actions. In neuroscience, they say neurons that fire together wire together. So when there's multiple experiences happening at the same time, they become connected physically in the brain. And so if every single time I wash my hands, I'm looking for the good parts of the experience and I'm enjoying it a little bit more, the neurons that are associated with washing my hands are going to wire together with the neurons associated with enjoyment or regulation or feeling calm. And so now every time I wash my hands, I am more mindful of the good parts of that experience. And now the sensations of the warm water trickling down my hands has become an anchor for me to focus my attention, almost as though it's a meditation. This is good because. So if I haven't convinced you by the end of this episode how mindfulness can be so supportive to our well-being, I think what will really convince you is adopting these practices and seeing for yourself, because these are experiential in nature and they're called practices for a reason. We practice them. It's not magic. We can't snap our fingers and suddenly become an entirely new version of ourselves. But the more we practice what it is like to choose to pay attention to this present moment, the easier it gets and the more able we are to really be here and now. And this is kind of a prerequisite to liking our lives in a lot of ways. Because if we're not able to pay attention, then we can't pay attention to the things we enjoy. So I would encourage you to find some kind of practice that you can engage with each day to help you become more mindful. Maybe at the conclusion of this episode, set a timer for 60 seconds. Close your eyes and just notice what it feels like to breathe. And when people say focus on your breath, they mean really pay attention to the sensations and the nuances of what that breath feels like. And when you notice your thoughts straying away, come back, take another deep breath. Notice again what that feels like for you. And start super small. Or if that doesn't resonate with you, look around the room that you're in and count as many beautiful things as you can find, or go and wash your hands with some perfect temperature water and try to complete the phrase, "This is good because," as many times as you can. It doesn't really matter how you practice this. What matters is that you start paying attention to your life, paying attention to the good parts of your life, paying attention to what feels good, what feels soothing, what feels cozy and joyful. And that is what's going to help you like more of your life. If you want support with this process of building more mindfulness into your life, I do have some resources available for you. First and foremost, my hypnosis app, Dawdle, is paired with this podcast. So for every episode that you will hear, there is a section in the Dawdle hypnosis app that has suggested guided hypnosis recordings. In this case, there will also be some guided mindfulness practices, as well as an outline of the practices that we talk about in the episodes, so that you really don't have to do this alone. And Dawdle is free to try for 7 days, so there are 0 risks. You can cancel anytime. And it's really designed to be an additional resource so that you don't feel like you're doing it all on your own. This podcast is called How to Like Your Life, but Dawdle can help you make it a very easy task to do that. So check it out in the show notes, download Dawdle, give it a try, and start to cultivate some more mindfulness in your life. If you want a much deeper dive into ways that you can retrain your brain to be more present with the positive elements of your experiences, to build your access to joy and inspiration and fulfillment and confidence and reduce your stress, I host a 6-week masterclass called Hypnotic Empowerment, which is a live online course where I will personally guide you through a protocol of brain training and hypnosis tools in live calls, video lessons, guided hypnosis practices, and so much more to really help you empower yourself to become the version of you that you want to be. You can check out the show notes for more information about the next cohort. And if you got something out of this episode, if you learned something, make sure to subscribe, follow this podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please, please also rate and review. Your ratings are so unbelievably helpful for creators like me to reach more people and offer these free tools to so many more people around the world. And if you think that some of your friends and family would benefit from the tools that I talk about here, feel free to share the episode on your Instagram story. Tag me. I love hearing your thoughts. I love seeing those messages. And I love hearing how you are implementing the tools that I share. It's so amazing to see how creative you all are getting with how to integrate these things into your life. Because ultimately, you're the one that is the expert on your own brain. And your abilities, your inner strengths are so unbelievably powerful. I wish that I could talk to every single one of you and really drive that point home. You are so powerful. You have the ability to like your life. You have the ability to be more present for the experiences that are supportive to you. You are so capable of becoming the version of you that you want to be, and you are so capable of liking your life. You have been listening to the How to Like Your Life podcast. This is Emilie Lies. It has been so wonderful chatting with you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, friend.